According to Statista, as of January 2021, there were over 1.83 billion websites on the internet. This staggering number showcases the sheer volume of online content available and the ever-increasing importance of websites in the digital age. The internet, as we know it today, is a vast network of computers and devices that communicate with one another. Websites are a fundamental part of this network, allowing users to access and share information with the rest of the world. Websites have become so ubiquitous that it's hard to imagine a world without them. But the truth is that they've only been around for a few decades. Website development has come a long way since the dawn of the internet. And in this episode of this Spotlight documentary series, we will explore the evolution of websites from their early days and how game changers like HTML and CSS improved websites' functionality to their modern era. We will also highlight security and privacy measures in modern-day websites, as well as what the future holds for them. Let's begin with how websites have become important in today's modern society. As the world becomes increasingly digitized, websites have become an integral part of our daily lives. Tim Berners-Lee himself, who invented the World Wide Web, said, "The web is more a social creation than a technical one. I designed it for a social effect to help people work together and not as a technical toy." Arthur C. Clarke, the renowned British science fiction writer, inventor, and futurist, who authored the book titled 2001, A Space Odyssey, said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." These words by Arthur C. Clarke ring especially true when it comes to websites. Today, we live in a world where websites have become an integral part of our daily lives. So much so that we often take them for granted. From social media platforms and e-commerce stores to news sites and educational resources, websites have transformed the way we communicate, learn, and conduct business. To truly understand the importance of websites in modern society, let's take a look at some statistics. As of 2021, there are over 1.8 billion active websites on the internet, with new ones being added every day. In the United States alone, over 70% of the population has access to the internet, and the majority of online activity involves browsing websites. From a business perspective, having a website is no longer a luxury but a necessity, with over 80% of consumers researching products and services online before making a purchase. But websites are not just limited to commerce and information. They have also revolutionized the way we connect and interact with each other. Social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have become the go-to channels for people to share their thoughts, opinions, and experiences with others. Online communities and forums have allowed individuals to connect with like-minded people from all over the world, fostering a sense of belonging and camaraderie. In many ways, websites have become a reflection of our society and culture, serving as a platform for free speech, creativity, and expression. They have transformed how we consume media, from traditional news outlets to user-generated content on platforms like YouTube and TikTok. They have also made education and learning more accessible, with online courses and resources available to anyone with an internet connection. We are seeing websites become a ubiquitous part of our modern society, with an impact that is both far-reaching and profound. As we continue to push the boundaries of technology and explore new possibilities, it's clear that the evolution of websites will play and continue to play a crucial role in shaping the future of our world. The history of websites is a story of constant innovation and evolution. From the early days of static pages to the dynamic and interactive websites of today, the web has come a long way in a relatively short time. They have become an indispensable part of our lives, and their continued evolution will shape the way we communicate, connect, and do business in the future. And it is crucial that we understand how they came about and where they are now to what can be expected of them in the future. How did websites come about? The year was 1991, when the first website was created by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, a British computer scientist. At the time, the web was primarily used by academics and researchers to share information and collaborate on projects. However, as the web grew in popularity and more people gained access to it, websites became an essential tool for businesses, organizations, and individuals alike. Today, websites are used for everything from online shopping to social networking, and they play a crucial role in our daily lives. To understand the evolution of websites, we have to go back to the very beginning of the internet. In the late 1960s, the U.S. Department of Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, created a computer network called ARPANET, which connected several research institutions and universities. The purpose of ARPANET was to allow researchers to share information and resources over a distributed network. However, it wasn't until the invention of the World Wide Web by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in 1989 that the internet began to take shape as we know it today. Berners-Lee, then a computer scientist at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, proposed a new way of accessing information. He envisioned a system that would allow users to access and share information in a more intuitive and user-friendly way. His solution was to create a network of hyperlinked documents that could be accessed using a web browser. Berners-Lee's system, which he called the World Wide Web, was built using existing technologies such as HTML, URLs, and HTTP. Quickly on the heels of the World Wide Web came the first website, which was launched in 1991 by Berners-Lee himself. And it was a simple page that explained what the World Wide Web was and how to use it. Over the next few years, more and more websites began to appear, but they were mostly static and unimpressive by today's standards. One of the earliest breakthroughs in websites came in 1993 with the introduction of the Mosaic web browser, which allowed for the display of images and the use of graphical user interfaces. This opened up new possibilities for websites, and soon after, websites began to feature more visual elements and interactivity. By the late 1990s, websites had become more dynamic and functional, thanks to the introduction of technologies like JavaScript and Flash. This allowed for more advanced interactivity and multimedia features, such as animation and video. The turn of the millennium saw the rise of e-commerce, with companies like Amazon and eBay leading the charge. Websites became not just a means of communication, but also a platform for buying and selling goods and services. This trend continued into the 2000s with the advent of social media, which transformed websites into social networks where people could connect, share, and communicate. Mobile devices also played a significant role in the evolution of websites, as the rise of smartphones and tablets meant that websites had to be optimized for smaller screens and touch interfaces. This led to the development of responsive design, which allows websites to adapt to different screen sizes and resolutions. In recent years, the focus has shifted to user experience and accessibility. Websites are now created with the user in mind, with an emphasis on ease of use and accessibility for people with disabilities. This has led to the adoption of standards like WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and the use of tools like screen readers and voice assistants. We can say the creation of the World Wide Web was a pivotal moment in the history of the internet. It transformed the web from a tool for academic research to a global network of information accessible to anyone, anywhere, at any time. The web's evolution has been shaped by the advancement of technology and the changing needs of its users. Today, websites are not just a means of communication and commerce, but also a reflection of the culture and values of their users. The very first website created by Tim Berners-Lee, info.churn.ch, is still life on the internet. Despite being simple in design and having only text-based content, the website is still accessible today and provides a fascinating glimpse into the beginning of the internet era. When the first websites were created, they were very basic and had limited functionality. They were mostly static, with simple HTML pages that contained text and images. There were no videos or animations, and the web pages had no interactive elements. Berners-Lee's info.churn.ch website was hosted on a NeXT computer at CERN, and it was the first website to feature a clickable hyperlink. This innovation allowed users to navigate between pages and view information on different topics. Despite their simplicity, the first websites were groundbreaking in that they represented a new way of organizing and sharing information. Prior to the World Wide Web, information was primarily shared through printed materials or by word of mouth. The web made it possible to access and share information in a way that was fast, easy, and accessible to anyone with an internet connection. The first websites were also notable for their lack of design and visual appeal. In the early days of the web, there were no standardized design principles, and web pages were created using basic HTML code. The focus was on creating content and making it accessible rather than making it visually appealing. The early web was a bit like the Wild West, where anything was possible and there were no rules or conventions to follow. It was a time of experimentation where web designers and developers were pushing the limits of what was possible with this new technology. In some ways, the early web was like a blank canvas, waiting for artists to create something new and exciting. It was like the early days of film, when filmmakers were discovering new techniques and experimenting with storytelling methods that had never been tried before. As the web evolved and technology improved, new features were added to websites that made them more interactive and dynamic. Let's see the extent to which websites are important in modern society. Websites have come a long way since the early days of the internet. One of the most significant milestones in the evolution of websites was the introduction of HTML in 1993 and CSS in 1996. Before the introduction of HTML and CSS, websites were a much more primitive affair. Websites were often basic in structure, with little attention paid to presentation or interactivity. However, with the advent of HTML and CSS, website creators were suddenly given powerful tools to create visually appealing and engaging websites. HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, are two of the most important components of modern websites. HTML is the foundation of a web page and defines the structure of content, while CSS is responsible for the visual presentation of that content. An analogy for the importance of HTML and CSS in websites is that of a skeleton and skin. HTML is the skeleton, providing the structure and organization for a web page, while CSS is the skin, giving a website its visual appearance and style. Without HTML, a website lacks structure and coherence, and without CSS, it lacks visual appeal and branding. Together, HTML and CSS are the foundation of modern websites, providing the framework for creating engaging and functional websites. The introduction of HTML and CSS in the mid-1990s was a game changer for what constitutes websites. HTML provided a way to structure content and add links, images, and other media to web pages, while CSS allowed web pages to be laid out in a way that was both visually appealing and functional. In CSS, it became possible to separate the content of a web page from its presentation. This led to the development of more sophisticated websites that incorporated advanced layouts, animations, and visual effects. One of the key benefits of CSS is its ability to apply consistent styles across an entire website. This makes it easy to maintain a consistent look and feel throughout a website and to make changes to websites quickly and easily. Additionally, CSS allows the creation of responsive websites that can adapt to different screen sizes and devices, making them accessible to a wider audience. In many ways, the introduction of HTML and CSS set the stage for the modern era of websites. Today, websites are not just functional but also visually stunning and engaging. Websites have become a critical component of brand identity and marketing, and businesses and organizations invest heavily in creating visually compelling ones to attract and retain customers. As we moved into the 1990s and early 2000s, websites began to evolve rapidly. With the advent of HTML and CSS, websites became more sophisticated and visually appealing. But what were some of the key features and trends that emerged during this time? One of the most distinctive features of websites during this era was the use of animated GIFs. These simple looping animations were often used to draw attention to specific elements on a web page, such as a call to action or an eye-catching graphic. While today's websites tend to favor more minimalist and streamlined visuals, the use of animated GIFs was a hallmark of the 1990s and early 2000s. Another defining feature of websites during this time was the use of frame sets. Frame sets made it possible to divide a web page into multiple sections, each with its own scroll bar, making it easier to display a large amount of content on a single page. However, frame sets often caused usability issues and were eventually phased out. One of the most iconic looks of websites of the early 2000s was the use of skeuomorphic design. This style aimed to mimic real-life objects such as buttons or bookshelves in order to make websites feel more tangible and intuitive to users. For example, a button on a website might look like a physical button you could press in the real world. While the skeuomorphic design has fallen out of favor in recent years, it was hugely influential in shaping the look and feel of websites during this time. Gradients were another popular trend in websites of the era. Gradients are gradual blends of color that create a smooth transition between two or more colors. They were often used as a background for web pages, giving them a sense of depth and texture. However, as with many website trends, the use of gradients eventually became overused and fell out of favor. While many of these features have since fallen out of favor, they were instrumental in shaping the aesthetics of websites as we know them today. As we entered the modern era of websites, we saw the introduction of new technologies and trends that revolutionized the way we interact with websites. One such trend is parallax scrolling, a technique that creates a 3D-like effect by having different layers of content move at different speeds as you scroll down the page. This technique adds depth and dimension to the website, creating a more immersive user experience. Another major trend is the emergence of single-page applications or SPAs. Unlike traditional websites which require the user to navigate through multiple pages to access different content, SPAs provide all of the necessary information on a single, continuously scrolling page. This approach is particularly popular in mobile websites with consideration for mobile use, where it allows for a more streamlined user experience. In addition to these trends, we've also seen the introduction of new technologies that have had a profound impact on how websites appear. One such technology is HTML5, which introduced a range of new features and functionality to the web, including the ability to embed multimedia content such as video and audio directly into web pages. This has allowed for more dynamic and engaging websites that are better able to capture the user's attention. Another important technology is CSS3, which introduced a range of new styling options and effects that have allowed websites to be more visually striking and immersive. One popular example is the use of animations and transitions to add movement and interactivity to the website. Overall, the modern era of websites has been characterized by a focus on creating more engaging, immersive, and responsive experiences for users. As technology continues to evolve and new trends emerge, we can expect to see even more exciting innovations in websites. Another of the most significant developments in websites during the modern era has been the emergence of content management systems, or CMS for short. CMS platforms like WordPress, Drupal, and Joomla have revolutionized the way websites are built and maintained. Before CMS, creating and managing websites was a complicated process that required a lot of technical knowledge and skills. With CMS, anyone can create and manage a website, regardless of their technical background. CMS platforms allow users to build websites quickly and easily by providing pre-built themes, templates, and plugins that can be customized to suit their needs. They also simplify website management by allowing users to update content, add new pages, and install new features with just a few clicks. WordPress, the most popular CMS platform, powers over 40 of all websites on the internet, including some of the world's biggest brands and businesses. Other popular CMS platforms like Drupal and Joomla are also widely used and offer unique features that make them attractive to different types of users. The rise of CMS has had a significant impact on websites, making it more accessible and cost-effective for businesses and individuals alike to create and maintain a professional online presence. As CMS platforms continue to evolve and improve, the possibilities for websites are endless, making it an exciting time to be involved in this field. Now, we are led to seek out the influence that social media have had on websites. The rise of mobile devices has transformed the way people interact with the internet, particularly when it comes to website usage. The release of the iPhone in 2007 was a game changer, leading to a new dimension of website usage where people started using their mobile devices to access websites. This shift led to the emergence of responsive websites, which aim to create websites that adapt seamlessly to different screen sizes and device types. Responsive websites make use of flexible layouts, scalable images, and fluid grids that adjust to the user's screen size. Mobile devices account for more than half of all internet traffic. Websites that are not optimized for mobiles are likely to lose traffic and revenue, as users abandon them in favor of more mobile-friendly alternatives. The emergence of mobile devices has led to new website design considerations, such as touch-based navigation, mobile-specific features like location services and mobile payments, and the need for fast-loading websites that don't consume too much data. Websites are now required to be visually appealing and easy to use, not compromising on speed or functionality, while also providing a seamless user experience across all devices. They must strike a balance between aesthetics and functionality, keeping in mind accessibility for all users, including those with disabilities. Mobile devices have created a new normal, and websites have had to adapt accordingly. Just as we've become reliant on our smartphones for communication, entertainment, and productivity, we've come to expect the same level of convenience and functionality from websites. The impact of mobile devices on website usage is comparable to the impact of smartphones on our daily lives. In the early 2000s, the widespread adoption of social media began to influence the landscape of websites. Social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram became integral parts of people's daily lives, and websites had to adapt to accommodate the new ways in which users interacted with online content. One of the most significant impacts of social media on websites was the introduction of social sharing buttons. These buttons allowed users to easily share website content with their social media followers, extending the reach of the website's content and bringing in new traffic. As a result, website owners began to incorporate social sharing buttons into their sites, often prominently placing them on pages where they wanted users to engage with and share content. Another way in which social media impacted websites was through the use of social login. This feature allowed users to log into a website using their social media credentials, eliminating the need to create a separate account for each website they visited. This streamlined the user experience and made it easier for users to engage with multiple websites, creating a more seamless online experience overall. In addition, social media has also influenced the broader trends in websites. As users become more accustomed to scrolling through social media feeds to consume content, websites began to incorporate infinite scroll and other features that allowed users to seamlessly browse content without needing to click through to new pages. Social media also influenced the trend towards visually driven, mobile-friendly sites, as users increasingly consumed content on their mobile devices while on the go. Overall, social media has had a profound impact on websites, shaping the way that website owners think about user engagement and social interaction online. As social media continues to evolve and new platforms emerge, we can expect websites to continue to adapt and evolve to accommodate these changes. A crucial aspect of the evolution of websites to also look at is security and privacy. When we browse the internet, we are constantly exchanging information between our devices and various websites. This information can include sensitive data such as our personal information, financial details, and browsing history. With this in mind, it's easy to see why website security and privacy are of utmost importance. Without proper security measures, websites are vulnerable to various threats such as hacking, malware, phishing attacks, and more. These security breaches can lead to a range of negative consequences such as data breaches, identity theft, financial loss, and reputational damage. As such, it's critical for website owners and developers to prioritize website security and implement the necessary measures to prevent such attacks. One common website security vulnerability is the lack of SSL/TLS encryption. SSL/TLS encryption secures the communication between a website and its visitors by encrypting data exchanged between the two. This encryption makes it difficult for hackers to intercept and read the data, which protects user data and privacy. Another common website security vulnerability is cross-site scripting, or XSS. This occurs when attackers inject malicious scripts into a website, which can then execute on a user's browser. This type of attack can lead to the theft of sensitive user data or unauthorized access to a user's account. To plug these vulnerabilities, web security experts have worked hard to proffer some best practices. Web security experts advise that to protect against these types of attacks and vulnerabilities, such as SSL/TLS encryption and others, website owners and developers must implement best practices for website security. These practices include regularly updating software and security patches using strong and unique passwords, implementing two-factor authentication, and limiting access to sensitive data. In addition to security measures, website owners and developers must also prioritize user privacy. Users expect their personal information to be protected, and it's essential to earn their trust by implementing privacy policies and data protection measures. For example, websites should implement privacy policies that clearly outline what data is collected and how it's used, and provide users with the ability to opt out of data collection if they choose to do so. At this point, we can attempt to see what prospects are there for websites. The future of websites is an exciting and ever-evolving space. As technology continues to advance at an exponential rate, we can only imagine what the future holds for websites. Some emerging trends and technologies will play a huge role. Among these are the roles of artificial intelligence and machine learning in websites. Virtual reality, or VR for short, and augmented reality, AR, are two emerging technologies that are changing the way we experience the web. VR can transport users to a completely different environment, while AR overlays digital content in the real world. As these technologies continue to advance, we can expect to see more websites using VR and AR to create engaging and interactive experiences for their users. Another trend that's gaining traction is the rise of voice-based interfaces. With the increasing popularity of smart speakers like Amazon, Echo, and Google Home, more people are using voice commands to search the web and interact with their devices. Website owners must adapt to this trend by optimizing their websites for voice-based interfaces to improve the user experience. We have to look at the role of AI and machine learning also. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are already having a significant impact on websites. These technologies are being used to create personalized experiences for users, improve search engine optimization, and automate repetitive tasks. AI and machine learning are also being used to analyze user data and make recommendations for website improvements. In the future, We can expect to see even more sophisticated uses of AI and machine learning on websites. For example, these technologies could be used to create websites that adapt to users' individual preferences and behaviors in real time. AI could also be used to generate website content and recommendations based on user data and feedback. As well as positive prospects, we can also expect some challenging prospects for websites. As websites continue to evolve, there will be a mix of challenges and opportunities. One of the main challenges will be keeping up with the pace of technological change. With new technologies emerging all the time, website owners and developers will need to stay abreast of the latest trends and techniques to ensure their websites remain relevant and functional. Another challenge will be ensuring websites are accessible to all users. With the rise of new technologies and interfaces, it's important to ensure that websites are designed to be inclusive and accessible to people with disabilities. This can involve implementing features such as alternative text for images, closed captions for videos, and clear navigation for screen readers. On the other hand, the opportunities for websites in the future are immense. With new technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and voice-based interfaces, websites have the opportunity to create truly immersive and interactive experiences for users. AI and machine learning also offers the potential to create websites that are tailored to individual users' preferences and behaviors, leading to a more personalized and engaging user experience. As technology advances and the threat landscape continues to evolve, it's essential for website owners and developers to stay up to date with the latest security best practices and implement the necessary measures to protect user data and privacy on their websites. We've seen the evolution of websites from the early days of basic HTML pages to the modern, dynamic, and interactive sites we see today. We've seen how advancements in technology have allowed websites to become more sophisticated, functional, and user-friendly, enabling them to better serve their intended purposes among other key aspects. Despite the ongoing changes in websites, it remains an integral part of modern society and an essential tool for businesses, organizations, and individuals. As technology continues to evolve, we can expect to see even more exciting and innovative developments in websites, which will continue to shape the way we interact with and experience the digital world. It would be a wise move for businesses and individuals alike to keep a close eye on emerging trends and technologies, stay informed about the latest best practices for websites, and prioritize website security and privacy to ensure that their online presence remains effective, engaging, and secure.
To learn more and stay up to date with emerging digital trends, visit visibilitylogic.net, where you'll find a wealth of information and resources. While you are there, check out our blogs and our other videos on technology and innovation. You can also connect with us and join our community on Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram to stay informed on all the latest developments in our services. And if you want to receive our latest updates straight to your inbox, be sure to sign up for our newsletter.